So who is this guy who was arrested for attacking Department of Education Secretary Betsy Devoss? Well, we turn to the WashingtonExaminer.com, WashingtonExaminer.com, and to find the answer, and here's what we read. According to the headline, this is a story attributed to Timothy P. Carney. It says, report, gay NPR commentary contributor charged with assault in Betsy DeVos fracas was a refugee whose family fled the Taliban. Here's a little bit of a side note. He fled the Taliban when he was 5 years old. It's not like they were attacking him and he fought them as an adult. His family came here allegedly fleeing the Taliban. That's the story they tell anyhow. What the problem that I have with this is, why did they flee the Taliban? Well, because the Taliban's violent. Well, what did they do when they got here? Well, this guy allegedly committed violence. Isn't he doing the same thing the Taliban was doing? But, he didn't attack just anybody. He's attacking a government official. Folks, this is dangerous stuff. There are people out there who want Donald Trump dead. They want Nancy DeVos dead. They want these key officials. They hate these people. All right, here's what the story says. Bilal Ahmed Ashkayar was the man charged with assault according to Politico. We'll take a look at that story very briefly in just a minute. This is confusing, a little bit of editorializing by the writer here, which I thought was amusing. He says, this is confusing because I thought they wanted an education secretary who had firsthand knowledge of public school. So, allegedly, he attacks the guy as she, Betsy DeVos, was going into a public school. Oh, here's a thought. We're the feminists. Okay, you got this guy who's attacking a woman. I thought only male chauvinists, remember that term? They don't use that much anymore, but I thought only male chauvinists or evil men attacked women because men are evil. So we're the feminists. Oh, I know. He's not a white guy. Only white men can be bad. Forgot about that, sorry. It's not clear yet exactly whom Ashkayar is charged with assaulting, and Ashkayar has pleaded not guilty. Ashkayar is a long-running human rights activist. Okay, let's pause here and talk about human rights activists. Have you ever noticed the media? This, by the way, in my opinion, is a very conservative perspective publication, news publication. But have you noticed the media at large refers to people left of center as human rights activists, but people to the left of center, they call them human rights activists. People to the right of center, they call extreme right or something akin to that. Far right is probably a more common term. So if you're to the left, you're a human rights activist. If you're to the right, you're far right. Okay, so I'm wondering about this term here. Now, assuming the guy actually is guilty of attacking Betsy DeVos, and he's innocent until proven guilty. Even if you're video recorded, you're still innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Legally, anyhow. So, the term human rights activist, so I'm thinking, Betsy DeVos rather is, Betsy Ross too, but Betsy DeVos is in fact a human. So, if you are an activist who is concerned about the rights of humans, then you would be concerned about the rights of Betsy DeVos because she is a human. Is that right? So maybe he should not be called a human rights activist. If in fact he is guilty, maybe he should be called a thug or a terrorist. There's a good one, Taliban type terrorist. All right, so I guess the argument could be made that attacking somebody is an activity, and he thinks he has the right to do it, or he probably wouldn't have done it. And he's a human, so you could, if you really wanted to stretch it, you could say, oh, that was human rights activity because he's a human. He thinks he has the right to do it, and attacking somebody is, after all, an activity. Okay, that's silly, but that's the type of arguments liberals make. According to the article in WashingtonExaminer.com, let me re-say that, Washington Examiner. I'm trying to pronounce my words distinctly. He wrote a piece last month for NPR, that's National Public Radio, by the way, in which he tells the gripping story of fleeing Afghanistan with his family. Very gripping when you're 5 years old, I'm sure. I don't think he probably even hardly remembers it. Eventually, they were granted asylum in the United States. Ashkayar writes that he and his family became citizens in 2000. Okay, here is the heart and meat of the story. He told the story as well at the Washington Blade, the gay DC publication. In these stories, um, Ashkar, I think it's Ashkar Yar, recounts his family's opposition to Soviet imperialism and to the Taliban. Okay, what is wrong with imperialism? What is wrong with the Taliban? Well, the problem with the Taliban is they're violent. The problem with the Soviet imperialism is it's intrusive. It controls people. So if this guy is guilty of doing what he is accused of doing, attacking Betsy Devoss, isn't he the same thing as like an imperialist? He's trying to control others, and he's violent like the Taliban. It seems to me that liberals like to make excuses for themselves. They have a double standard, which is a polite way of saying they are hypocrites. All right, here's what we read at Politico. There's not a whole lot here that wasn't said already, but it says, protester who clashed with Devoss pleads not guilty. A 31-year-old protester? You attack somebody. That's a protester? Okay. Anyhow, this protester who clashed with Devoss pleads not guilty. A 31-year-old protester over the weekend pleaded not guilty to assault charges in connection with a headline-making incident in which Education Secretary Betsy Devoss was temporarily blocked from entering a Washington, D.C. middle school on Friday. My understanding is it was more than just a temporary blocking, but it was actually an assault because that's what he was charged with. At least the authorities consider it an assault. What we are seeing here, folks, I believe, is just abject hatred. These people, it's dangerous to be in this administration. These people want Donald Trump dead. They want Betsy DeVos dead. They want to kill these people. They want to do them harm. Now, this is the Hillary Clinton bunch. These are the people who talk about inclusion, talk about let's all get together, talk about anyone who opposes them as being deplorables, and more importantly, they refer to us as being members of hate groups. That hate-filled right. This is classic projection. They accuse us of doing what they do. They are the ones who emanate hatred. Just constantly. Okay, keep this in mind. And we've seen this all along, ever since Donald Trump won the election. This type of belligerent, abject hatred and violence is going to be the norm, I believe, for as long as Donald Trump is president, and hopefully that's 8 years. And it will be the norm as long as Mike Pence is president, assuming he is elected after Trump leaves office 8 years from now. So we're going to see a long string of this for 16 years. And the other thing we're going to see, I believe, is we're going to see the media whitewash it. Okay, so it says protester who clashed with DeVos pleads not guilty. One more thing I got to point out here, and keep in mind what I do when I do these videos, is I don't just read you the news and tell you news stories. We're looking for the news behind the news, the implications, what's behind all this, what do we need to see that everybody else is missing. That's why I do these videos. And I want you to look at the word clashed. It says he clashed with DeVos. Now, technically, I guess that would be true, but when you assault somebody and you say that's a clash, doesn't that imply that the other person is party to the clash? It's like two people run into each other. Both of them share in the fault. That's not quite the same as an assault when one party is innocent and the other party is attacking. Okay, here's why we bring that up. Technically, I guess it could be called a clash. But you can deceive people by technically telling the truth. I'll give you a good example of this. A lot of people think there is a commandment in the Bible that says thou shalt not lie. Well, go look it up, see if you can find it. Guess what? It doesn't say that. It says thou shalt not bear false witness. There's a difference. Bearing false witness, in my opinion, means deceiving people. You can deceive people by telling them the truth, and I think this is an example. Sometimes we color impressions. Can I say color without somebody calling me a racist? We color impressions that we put in people's minds by the words we use. For example, if we say clash instead of attack, or allegedly attack, that creates a false impression. In my opinion, this is bearing false witness, giving a false impression, which is what the liberal media does all the time. So technically, maybe it's not really fake news, but in essence, it is fake news. Take a look at one more story here. This is just kind of a sidebar talking about NPR. This was published in Fortune magazine, Fortune.com, January 19th, actually the day before the inauguration. And I want to focus on this part right here. As Donald Trump's transition team prepares for the real estate magnate to take control of the White House, senior advisors are looking at all the various departments for ways they can reduce spending. One of the suggestions being considered, according to a recent report, is the privatization of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, of which NPR is a division. All right, so what is wrong with that? My opinion, nothing. My opinion is that the government should not be in the business. Well, it should not be in business, period. It should not be in the broadcasting business. It shouldn't be in any business. The business of government is not to be in business. So what is the purpose of government? Well, if you read the Declaration of Independence, it says we have God-given rights to right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the purpose of government is to protect those rights. It's not to form the Corporation for Public Broadcasting or any other corporation or to be in business. That's why we have, $20 trillion debt? Is because the government does stupid things like this. Okay, that's the story is that the bad guy who attacked Trump was, not Trump, but Devoss was fleeing the Taliban when he was 5 years old, and now it appears he's doing what the Taliban did, and that's attack people. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share this on social media. That's really important. Also, leave your comments in the comment section below. If you've not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, we encourage you to do that. There's a little button in the lower right-hand corner that says subscribe. If you click on that, what we do here is we defend Western culture. We defend Western civilization. What I don't do is just read news stories. Anybody can sit down, oh, I found a news story, let me read it to you. Anybody can do that. What we do is we look for the implications behind the story. Why is this story important? How does it affect our lives? That's what we're going after when we do these videos. So we encourage you, invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
How to subscribe? Click subscribe. Click the bell. Check the box. Save.